I was just thinking after the Warfront video that even this Tierguard Keep could probably make a neat-ish Warfront. Especially if Cool Tiers decides to move in like they used to be here. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. That's just a little side thought I had after the fact. So Island Expeditions. As I said in the very brief, very poorly put together kind of overview, they are semi-procedural content. In that the islands themselves do not change, but what's happening on the island does. So we will use the one island whose name I'm entirely sure of, Havenswood. It's a Gilnean island. Has like all the Gilnean architecture and stuff on it. I think it looks really good. You go there looking for this stuff called Azerite, which I haven't touched on yet in any video I've made tonight, but basically it's artifact power. Just nowhere near as insane from the looks of it. But you go on these expeditions and exposition looking for the Azerite and trying to claim Azerite. So one of the scenarios they gave is you show up on the island. You show up on Havenswood. It is night. It's dark out. And it seems that there happen to be a band of Mogu necromancers that are currently on the island doing wicked spells and whatnot. And they have opened a portal to, I think it was a Mogu Cryptlord's crypt, and he, for some reason, has Azerite, and you go around the island completing objectives. And these objectives give you Azerite. Which I guess, or somehow, some of it goes towards your faction's war effort. Again, not sure how that works. If that's actually the case and not just a story thing, that's going to suck for both Alliance and Horde-dominated servers alike. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're talking about. So you arrive on the island, and you had the Mogu there, and you can decide to just, like, you know, Loktar Ogar, and charge straight into the Mogu Necromancer den, camp, whatever, and just slaughter them and take them all out. Or you can go around the island a little bit and look for other sources of Azerite on the island, and claim them. Not completely ignoring the Mogu, of course, getting to them eventually, but you can go around looking for, like, shrines that offer buffs and stuff like that, to aid you in your fight against the Mogu. One of the examples of a buff they gave is one that increases the amount of damage you do, but also increases the amount of damage you take. But there's also, like, an item you can find on the ground, like a starfish, they said, that you can, like, throw at an enemy and it stuns it. So you could grab that starfish, then throw it at the enemy, and or like throw it at the Mogu, and then get that buff and run over, and it's like the damage taken buff doesn't even exist because you're not taking damage, so you're just doing 50% more damage for free. That kind of randomization seems pretty cool to me. And then you go in and you take out the Mogu, and you know, everything's hunky-dory. You get to go home, presumably, with a bunch of tasty Azerite, most of it for your faction, but some of it for you, for the Heart of Azeroth, the artifact medallion. Now, say you're on the island. Or I would also like to say that that's just one of the seemingly endless scenarios that they gave for the islands. But so say, you know, you go onto that island and there happens to be Murlocs this time. It's in the middle of the day, you know, a whole bunch of going on the island. That's my Murloc impression. I know it sucks. You You go onto the island, and you say, like, well, those Murlocs seem like they'd be pretty easy to take out. I'm going to go around and explore a little bit. And I'm going to get, or my group and I are going to get, we're going to go get some extra Azerite. I should also say that it's a 3-person group thing, kind of like scenarios for Mr. Pandaria, and it's completely rule agnostic. So you could have 3 healers in there if you want. I'll probably still try to go in with a healer, tank, and DPS just to be safe, but that's just me. So, you're on the Horde, you show up in your ship, you start exploring the island that you're on to find extra caches of Azerite, maybe some extra enemies to fight that aren't Murlocs. But as you take your time, another ship pulls up to shore, and it's the Alliance. And they are also there to try to get Azerite. Now, for the most part, it seems like the Alliance that show up are going to be NPCs. I know, that seems really weird and doesn't seem like it would be that, chaotic. Like, oh great, 3 NPCs, I'll just go kill them with my group really quick and be done with it. But they said that these NPCs are different. Whether or not that is true or not remains to be seen, but I'm willing to believe them. These NPCs supposedly have some form of advanced AI. And this advanced AI, you have a rogue, they said, and that rogue could be fighting an enemy, and you could run up on the rogue, and it'll turn around and blind you, and then it'll go back to fighting the enemy, or the rogue will see you fighting, or see your group fighting an enemy, and he'll stealth over to you, and he'll sap your healer, or sap a group member if you don't have a healer, and start attacking your group members while the healer's sapped. Supposedly they're supposed to have AI like that, which is also really cool, but also really confusing to me, because I'm not entirely sure how that'll work, but I'm sure it'll work okay. And they said there's going to be predefined groups of who could show up. I don't really have any examples of the groups, even though they did give a few. I just don't remember them off the top of my head. I know there was one that's a group of troll headhunters or something, and stuff like that. Seeking revenge for Fulgin or whatever. But the enemies that come can... I'm in the wrong place. Can also complete the objectives. They can also gather Azerite. They can presumably take the Azerite back to their ship, and if they complete the big objective first, I assume they'll just get the hell out of Dodge with the Azerite and take it back to the Alliance. So it's a really big, it allows for some exploration in the beginning, but it then becomes a race against time, or a headhunt for the bad guys. And then you kill them, presumably. But it also has difficulty. Difficulties. There's normal, of course, heroic, of course, mythic, of course, and PvP, which I know a lot of people are excited about. Now, I said earlier, I myself am not much of a PvPer, so I'm not too thrilled about the PvP difficulty, but that's fine. I just won't touch it. But I'm glad that it's not just some kind of easy difficulty that as the expansion rolls on and as you get better gear, it just becomes a face rule activity that you can do just for the hell of it. I've been with a guy recently who solos Mythic Plus dungeons, which I think is pretty fucking crazy to me because I've only done 3. So I hope I assume the later Mythic Pluses are harder, but I really, really hope that the like mythic difficulty for island expeditions lives up to the mythic name. I'm not expecting anything like too over the top. Like, it'll obviously be possible, but I don't know. I don't know if I want it to be possible by everybody or by like a select few group of people. But I'm looking forward to doing them on Mythic personally. They also seem like they'll be like a great piece of content to learn a new role in. Like, they don't seem like they'll be too high stress. And I'm leveling alongside one of my friends who kind of just started playing the game. And she's playing a Blood Elf Hunter, and I'm playing a Tauren Protection Warrior. And one of my mains, I guess you could call it my off main or whatever, is an Arms Warrior, which, for those of you who don't know, there is a third warrior spec, and it is Arms. Here I am probably making a joke, and it's actually Fury. That's the one nobody plays, but I can never get the two straight. I play the one with only one weapon. Yes, that's a thing, people. But I'm leveling the Tauren as Protection. His name is actually Keckles. We're playing on a different server, so I don't have a... one, so I have character slots. And two, I can use Keckles and stuff. I actually have a couple names from shows that I've snagged and stuff too on this server. It's pretty nice. I'm playing on Silvermoon right now on NA if anybody wants to come say hi. But like, I'm not a good tank. I'm an okay tank. I'm not using heirlooms because she doesn't have any, so I don't want to get too far ahead of her. Even though it doesn't matter at all with the recruiter friend bonus. But, and it also doesn't really matter if you're a good tank in the lower level content, because, I mean, you know, when I get to level 15, I'll probably be able to, like, solo, Ragefire Chasms if I wanted to. Like, at level, or with all the heirloom gear and stuff I have. And earlier today, I know I'm kind of going off on a little rant, but it has a point. Earlier today, we were doing a dungeon, and this Tauren monk, which is still a funny sight to me, says to me, "Hey, you don't have to worry about taking aggro, by the way. I can solo this place." Because I was, you know, trying to take aggro off him, but I was struggling a little bit, because I think I only had an heirloom sword on, because I hadn't gotten a sword at that point. So I needed one to, you know, be able to tank properly. And I was, you know, struggling to keep the aggro off the fully heirloom monk. So I was like, okay. Like, all super sad and stuff, like, oh, I'm not actually needed here. And I assume that'll change as time goes on, if I even keep up with protection. Because I do get somewhat nervous tanking and healing and stuff, but I don't know if I really want to level another DPS warrior. I feel like I should probably switch it up a little bit. But like, you know, say we get into Legion and stuff, and tanking just doesn't really click yet. And like, you know, say we join a guild here on Silvermoon, and like, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable tanking Mythic Plus yet, yada yada yada. If I'd even want to, do I want to attempt to tank raids? Do I just want to main tank for the rest of my life? I don't. But like, for some reason to me, learning how to tank on the spot in a dungeon seems very intimidating. Maybe not so much if I was with a group of friends, like guild members willing to like put up with me kind of messing up and going a little slow at first. But to me, these island expeditions just seem like a much simpler way of being able to learn a role. Like, it's not a very high stress location. I don't even know if you can queue up to it without being in like a pre-made group, so whoever you're with is probably going to understand that, you know, you're not the best at what you're doing, but you're trying to get better at it, which is why you're doing it. So I'm really looking forward to them for that reason, because I would like to be able to heal, and I would like to be able to tank. Like, I'd like to be able to help, or like fill in roles for my friends if they needed it. And I don't want to be like, oh no, like I can only DPS or whatever, like healing isn't really for me, it's too fast paced, and healing looks really fast paced to me in World of Warcraft, but as far as I know it's really not, and I just needed to give it a shot and I'll end up being the best fucking healer in the game. But I haven't given it a whole lot of attention because I'm so used to tanks just plowing off ahead before I'm even in the dungeon and having quests accepted or whatever, so I'm just a little iffy about it for that reason alone. But maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I should be leveling the Blood Elf Priest I made earlier to try healing. Instead of this Troll Hunter right now. Maybe I'll do that a little bit before I go to bed while I'm uploading these. But I'm really looking forward to them for that reason as well, because I do think they'll be a great training grounds of sort, even though I'm fairly certain that's already a thing. But I hope they show like a bunch of new island types too. They have what looked to be just like a stereotypical tropical island that they showed, and then Havenswood, which is the Gilnean themed island, but I don't think it'd be out of the question to see like a Pandaren themed island, or hell, like go up north and have like a Eversong Forest, Isle of Quel'Danas themed island. That'd be pretty rad, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities for islands, and I don't imagine they would be too hard to make. So here's hoping there's a lot of options. Sadly, you don't go to them on player ships, but you do go to them on ships. So the whole player ship fantasy that everybody had is not a reality, sadly. But what are you gonna do? It looks like we're getting another awesome piece of content alongside Warfronts. So I'm pretty hyped for them. And I know my friend is too. She's really looking forward to them as well. Is that about it for Island Expeditions, I think? There'd be more to talk about if I knew more about Azeroth and stuff, but they said a little bit about it, but a lot of it went over my head, and it's probably not something I'll understand until I actually see a lot of it in gameplay, or until I get my hands on it myself. That's kind of how I was with artifact weapons as well. But I'm sure all will be explained in time. So in the next video, I will be touching very, very briefly on allied races, what I think of how they ended up, like, being, I guess, and my hopes for them in the future. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.